Hello, Phantom Fam. Katie here. And before we even start this episode, I want to say that I am deeply disturbed by the things that Natalie has shown me in the past hour. And I think I'm scarred for life.
Everyone keeps calling me Natalie.
Well, that's what you get when you show me disturbing images. But...
Are they really disturbing? I don't know.
Well, I am unsettled. And permanently scarred. But this, my friends, is going to be a little sit-down, a chat. Cheers with spirits. Because this is Whispers from the Void. And I'm Kate.
And I'm Nat.
And this, the show, is called Wading into the Void. So, everyone.
I almost dropped my phone.
We are off to a great start. We said we were going to start recording at a certain time. It has been an hour after that because...
In a whole fucking hour. Because we got on a tangent talking about Oprah Rain's Dustwalker Bride series and looking at monster dildos from the internet.
Sorry, children. But...
if you're a child, you really should not be listening to this podcast.
shout out to the Boo Boys, or whatever it is we're calling you.
Boo Boys. You really should not listen to us, boys.
But you know what? You're here. Please don't look it up. I know that's probably going to make you want to do it more. I
didn't say the name. I didn't say the name of it.
That's true.
So they can't find the website. They'll find it.
Anyway.
Hopefully not.
For our readers over 18, definitely check out Opal Rain if you're into some spicy romance books, and, you know, go on your way. But we have a fun one for you here today. We're not doing anything too serious. We're literally sitting down. We're telling some fucking ghost stories around a hypothetical campfire. And we're just gonna chat paranormal experience, personal stories, and, you know, shoot the spooky chat, if you will. So.
I forgot to tell you. I got inspired today. And was like, you know what? On my week-long vacation, I'm gonna find something creative to do. And for some reason, I was like... looking up, I recently bought some new perfume and was like, these sound like they're going to smell really good, but I feel like no matter what perfume I buy, I never find, like, the perfume that I'm like, this is my day-to-day scent. The only thing that I could think of is, like, this one, something cozy from, like, Rue 21. Like, it was, like, or Bath Body Works or some random, it was Rue 21 or Charlotte Russe or something. The most random place to get a perfume.
Yes.
But it smelled so good. It was like some kind of marshmallow, like cozy smell. And I've never been able to find it again because they discontinued it. So I was like, you know what? I would really love a perfume that smells like that. And I kind of Googled it and was like, you know what? It's actually really easy to make perfume. So I got essential oils. I got perfumer's alcohol. I got sweet almond oil. And I'm going to try to make my own perfume.
Chemist Nat over here.
Yeah.
I totally get what you're saying, though.
Yeah.
Once you find your scent and then they discontinue it. Mine was Victoria's Secret, like, vanilla perfume. I loved that shit. I actually still have half of a bottle over here because it was so good and they discontinued it. So I'm just like using it
that's
sparingly.
surprising.
Yeah, right? But it's tragic when they do. So I wish you luck and I hope you get it.
So I'm going to read you the essential oils that I got because I feel like you'll really enjoy these. I just saw a little mushroom cat thing. I don't know, it's gone now. I got really excited. I was like, what is that?
Peep the merch coming of the mushroom cat.
Dude, I would shit my pants. Okay, so I got marshmallow, campfire, teak wood, amber, lavender, sweet orange, clove, and sandalwood, and musk.
Okay, you're gonna make something really good with that.
It's gonna be... These are like 2 different perfume ideas that I have. I have one that I'm making for me, one that I'm making for Dana.
Yep.
Because she said that her favorite smells are like lavender, orange, and I already have like a regular essential oils smell that I make that's lavender, sweet orange, and peppermint, and it is like the best thing you could ever smell ever. And I feel like that would be really good with like maybe a little bit of clove, maybe some vanilla. So I have some ideas. And I have a bunch of empty perfume bottles.
There you
like
go.
Actual
Perfect.
perfume bottles. And roller balls. So if you have any ideas that you want me to make, I have a bunch of like little essential oils too.
Send them in.
Yeah. So I have like rose, geranium, cinnamon, bergamot, cedar. Like, if you want me to make something, I will make it for fun.
Hell yeah, let's do it. Surprise.
We can make our own wading into the void smell.
And it's just gonna smell like rotten woods. With a hint of marshmallow.
No. I feel like it'd smell like campfire, cedar.
I like sandalwood.
Maybe some ocean.
Ooh, with the mist that's
sandal.
on all of our stuff. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I kind of dig it. Maybe we'll
Like
experiment
ocean.
with that.
Maybe. I'll see if they have like an ocean scent of essential oils.
Salt in a bottle.
Salt water. That's what my sister said. She said salt water. I was like, I've never heard of salt water. But, like, I have. The more I thought about it.
Uh-huh.
They have, like, salt water, like, candles, like, ocean spray, and, like, yeah.
We went to the Yankee Candle flagship store in Massachusetts, Elijah and I. And he found this one candle that he loved. And I shit you not, it smelled like fucking sunscreen.
Ew.
He said he liked it because it reminded him of the beach. And I was like...
You know what? You know what? There's a specific coconut smell that kind of smells like sunblock. But I had a Barbie that smelled like that when I was a kid. Like, she was the beach Barbie.
I know
with
the
flat
exact
feet.
one that you're fucking talking about.
She came with a surfboard.
Yep.
Yeah, she was tan. I had that one. And whenever I smell, there's a Physicians Formula, like, cocoa butter.
Oh, the bronzer?
Well, the bronzer, yes. But they have, like, this big box. It's, like, a huge palette thing.
Oh, gotcha.
And it's, like, eyeshadow, bronzer, blush, lip gloss, all that stuff. I bought it. It's $30. I recommend anybody get it if they don't know anything about makeup. Physicians Formula is pretty good for the price.
Yes, it is. Sponsor us.
It's made out of cocoa butter and it has the same smell as that damn Barbie. So every time I use it, I'm like, yes.
That's great. Do you think we should read them the tarot and oracle now before we dive into more mindless madness?
Yes.
And you'll have to let us know if you enjoy the format and kind of ease of these episodes, because
these are just the chill episodes.
they're fun for us to record. They're fun to do.
Because pretty soon we're not going to have as many cryptids episodes. Sad face.
Yes.
So we're trying to find something to kind of fill that chill, sit down vibe.
Yes.
So, for today's cards, we're almost 10 minutes in. For our Oracle deck, we are going back to the Rebel deck. The Oracle with attitude, 0 filter plus 0 fucks equals all fun. And if you want to get yourself a Rebel deck, you can get one at rebeldeck.com. And the card we have for today says, believe what you see. And on the back, it says, face reality or live in fucking La La Land. Choose bravely.
I love it.
Literally my favorite Oracle deck.
Yeah, I really love that one. It's so much fun.
Where did I get it? Did I get it at Comic-Con?
Yes, I think you did.
From Spelunked?
I think so.
LLC?
Yes, that's what it was.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Spelunked. Hopefully you're doing good.
Hopefully you've
and then
sold
our next
a bunch
deck.
of decks.
Huh?
Hopefully you've sold a bunch of decks.
Yeah, hopefully. So our next deck is the Illuminated Tarot by Caitlin Keegan. And we got the 10 of Clubs, which represents a responsibility or burden. She's like holding sticks.
Yeah, little disturbing. Her eyes looks like she just smoked like a fat fucking blunt.
She's like, you see those memes about people with blue eyes where they like stare?
Oh my god, the Miley Cyrus meme.
Yeah.
And you all know what we're talking about there.
That's why I tried to revamp the Miley Cyrus meme when I was high. Okay? I thought it was genius, but apparently it wasn't.
It was funny at just...
It was stupid.
Fucking high brain.
Yeah, it was stupid. You can admit it.
It was just so, like, out of the blue.
Yeah, I post, like, thirst traps, and all of a sudden it's, like, Miley Cyrus. Like...
Just, like, staring into your soul.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the creepy card say?
I read it.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did. I said a responsibility or a burden.
Oh, that's it?
That's all I said.
Oh.
I told you, we were either choosing one with a lot of sustenance or one that's straight and to the point so we could get right into it.
None at all. Okay. So, what do we want to chatty about first here? Do you have any stories from Nat's House of Horrors that you haven't shared? That are kind of up in your dome piece floating around? We could bounce back and forth a little bit. You go, I go. Because I don't think I really shared any of my personal stories on the pod yet. At least in depth.
I only have 2 stories so far. Or left.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That I remember specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And one's recent.
Yep.
Not my own stories from my dad.
Gotcha. Where to start? Let's go recent. Let's just go something a little fun. So, we've talked on the pod numerous times about my grandfather, you know, how my grandmother dumped his ashes on the floor and vacuumed him up, and he resides permanently at the dump at least a little bit. But when he's not doing that, he is fucking around in my bedroom. So he constantly messes with the podcast equipment, actually. So for those that don't know, we have kind of touch sensor light up microphones that we use for this pod. Nat's, you know, flashes rainbow because that's her vibe. She likes it to, you know, get that ombre effect going.
'Cause I'm gay as fuck. We can say it.
She really said, #pride. And because I am straight, apparently, I picked red. So my microphone is black and red, and when it's on, the light is like a demonic fucking red. So if I turn the light off in here...
Yeah, I can see it in your window.
It's like Satan's taking over red, right? Like you're in the bowels of hell. And when I'm not using the microphone, I turn it off, you know, because I don't need that light just shining wherever. And for the past, I want to say, month and a half now, my grandfather, and I know it's him because I can sense that, and it's just something he would do when he was living, just to fuck with me. He will turn it on, leave it for maybe like 2 minutes, turn it off, and just keep doing it, and doing it, and doing it. And I'll say, will you stop? After he's turned it off, and like no sooner than when I fucking ask, he turns it back on again. Because he lives to annoy me. So, I've gotten to the point now where I just unplug it and shut it off because I don't want to deal with it. But the other day, I was sitting here, we were about to record the podcast, and it was like, boom, cologne to the face. And what was it but my grandfather's fucking Old Spice?
Yeah, I remember you saying that. You were like, I just got a really strong whiff of random cologne right as we started talking to Bianca.
Yes. And my, after my grandfather passed away, they had little teddy bears made out of some of his shirts. And they gave me one, and it sits pretty much right next to my microphone at the podcast station. So, like, I totally know that it's him, just, like, dicking around in the corner of my bedroom, trying to mess with me. But, you know, it's fun, it's fresh. Start it real simple, you know? And the other day, I was upstairs talking to my mother, and she had gone in to go to her bedroom. And right as she passed through the doorway, I saw standing right behind her a full-bodied apparition of a man, just, like, glaring. And I have been saying for years that when I sit in certain parts of the living room upstairs in my parents' house, I just feel like somebody is just staring at me the whole time. And the more I started to tap into my ability with spirit, the more things I've been experiencing recently. And to have that happen, I just kind of sat there, like, in shock a little bit, because it'd been so long since I've seen, like, that defined of a full-body apparition. And, like, I saw his face, I saw his eyes, he was not happy. And we had a medium over to the house a couple weeks ago now, and she turned to me and she was like, you need to trust your intuition. And if you want to develop those skills more, and she gave me a couple tips. And we've been talking to our friend Bianca kind of about those things, and a few other people we've met on Instagram, because hello, all of our new Phantom fam members. And
wherever you came from.
Really, wherever you came from. And it's been kind of insane. She actually confirmed to me that there was a man that does just kind of reside in that room. And he is one of the previous owners of the house. Like, right when the house was first built, he was the original owner, and he's essentially just very confused. So, we've done a lot of renovations to the house, so it's not surprising that he's just there kind of like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I don't get any malice, but he does just, like, fucking glare. Just confused. Like, who are you and why are you in my fucking home? Like, all the time. But that's some things I've noticed more recently. Honestly, within, like, the past couple of months, his glaring has just been, like, there, and there's nothing I can do about it. This is one good one, and I'll switch it over to you, Nat. But we're renovating my bathroom right now at my house. So we're all kind of stuck using my parents' bathroom. And to get to that bathroom, you have to go through their bedroom, which is where this man kind of likes to chill and spend his time. And I go in there the other day, and the lights are off in both the bedroom and the bathroom. Mm-hmm. And I feel his, like, heavy presence right in the doorway of the bathroom. So I don't turn the light on in the bedroom. I don't turn the light on in the bathroom. And I'm going to cross through the threshold, and I just go, move! Because, like, he's standing, like, dead center in the middle of the doorway to the bathroom. And I'm like, dude, get out! And I did kind of feel like a little shift kind of move by me. Like, he was like, fine, like, whatever, like, be that way. And I was like, a little privacy, please. So I guess we both have spirits that like to bug us in the bathroom.
Yeah.
But that's a little lighthearted couple of fun ones there to kick it off a little bit.
I have 2 spooky ones.
I'm ready to hear them.
So, I guess I'll tell you the first one and save the one that happened recently for one of the later. For a little bit later. But I remember when I was about 14, sometime like early teenage years, I had moved my computer into my bedroom. That was weird. That was so weird. I thought I just saw, like, a finger for a second. That was so fucking weird.
Carol!
No.
She's like, what's this button do?
The escape button. Hangs up my phone. Or hangs up the Discord. I don't know what I'm saying. I have a migraine.
She's like, this is enough.
Yeah. She's like, you're done.
You're done.
You need to clean this room.
We love Carol.
It's really bad. It's really bad in here. We do.
Carol is the third host of this podcast.
It's true. She's always here.
Can
and I
confirm.
like instinctively like just lean to the left.
Yeah,
so
hi,
she's
Carol.
just always here. She's probably like, what are these crazy girls talking about today? Like, what are they gonna say?
Literally.
Earlier we were looking at that website. She was probably like, what the hell?
She's like right over your shoulder, like nose scrunch, just like
what is that? Anyways, so yeah, when I was a teenager, early teens, I moved my gaming PC into my bedroom. And that was one of the few times I ever had the computer in my room, besides when I was like 22, before I moved out of my parents' house. Is when I bought my own computer and stuff like that. But I remember growing up, my room, as I told in our previous episodes, my room was really scary to me. And I always felt uncomfortable in my room. And I remember one night, it was really, really late, like 3 or 4 in the morning. I was playing, like, Sims, per usual.
The game, okay.
The game of my childhood. Before I discovered Left 4 Dead, Sims was my life. But, no, I just remember it was really, really late at night, and I had started feeling kind of creeped out, and wasn't really sure why. And all I remember, and it still really weirds me out to this day, but all I remember is something grabbed my leg in my computer chair. Grabbed my leg.
Spicy.
Like, hard. And yanked.
Oh.
And, like, pulled me out of my computer chair.
She said paranormal activity, who?
And that I haven't talked about it in the previous episodes because I still, to this day, don't know if that was real or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if that was something that I dreamt about or something like that, but it felt like something that legitimately happened because I remember growing up, my room used to be so messy. Like, you could barely walk in there. And I remember being pulled into all the clothes on my floor and all the shit all over my floor.
Mood.
And, yeah. It was very strange because nothing else happened after that. It was just like, I got pulled, I got, like, dragged onto the floor out of my chair, and then nothing else happened after that. And very, very soon after that, I moved the computer out of my room because I don't know why, it just felt like it did not want me to have the computer in the room for some reason.
It was like, that is enough Sims for you. Bring it back downstairs.
Yeah, because I never really had an issue like that after I took it out. So I don't know what the issue was. Maybe it was the placement of the computer.
Oh, could be.
I don't know. But that was one really strange thing that happened that I still to this day don't know if it was something real or something that I dreamt of.
I say trust your gut.
Because it felt like a full, like, hand wrapped around my ankle.
Yeah?
And it felt cold. Like, it felt like a cold hand.
You know what I say about the coldness, so...
Yeah.
I say
it was
trust
just really
your gut.
strange.
Trust your intuition.
I've never had anything like that happen, like, ever again. Like, something that felt so real touching me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Besides when I went to the Shanley Hotel, and we were talking to Bianca about this, which you guys will hear about later.
Yes.
In the future, when we were talking about being touched on our knees and stuff like that. That was another time it felt like somebody was, like, running their hand down my leg.
Yep.
And that was the same kind of feeling that I felt.
Then I would say definitely yes.
Just, like, who was it, though? I don't understand who wanted... Like, who did that to me? It doesn't make any sense. Why did they not want me to play Sims? Maybe because I had been playing for, like, 10 hours already, and they're like, girl, go outside and touch some grass. Like, they're like, stop!
Literally. Was it Sims 3?
No, it was Sims 2.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah.
I could play Sims 2 for days straight. Such a good game. I think it's called the Legacy Collection on my Mac.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And, like, to this day, I will still go on and play that. Like,
you know, that would be a fun thing to stream, Sims.
I really wish it was multiplayer.
Me too.
Sims 5 might be. And a lot of people are, like, not into it, but I kind of am.
I think that would be fun.
Right?
It'd be like IMVU in Second Life.
Yeah.
But better.
Like, if you could toggle it so you could do, like, you know, your own, like, story mode, but then you could do, like, an online multiplayer, I think it'd be fun. But,
yeah.
You know, people have to bitch about everything, so.
I think they should have, like, a player limit.
Like,
so it's not like
an
an MMO.
Something.
Yeah. So, like you host your own lobby.
Yep.
Or server.
Kind of like Minecraft.
Yeah. But, like, at most, like, 4 people, maybe.
I feel like it would get really weighty if it was more than 4 or 5 people.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like,
has to run.
If they have it open like an MMO, that's not gonna be fun.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be too much. But it would be so much fun to be able to, like, reject other people, you know, and, like, it would be so much fun.
You know what? I think they really need to make a Sims game that is like the Wii Sims 3. Where you can run around as the actual person that you've created.
Oh, that would be fun.
Right? And, like, Sims Castaways on Wii. Like, however they had the Sims games on Wii, they should create something like that. They need to bring back their Sims stories.
Yeah.
Like, pet stories, Castaway stories. I can't remember the other one.
Apartment stories?
That might have been one. But the one where you play as the person who gets hit by the satellite. Like, they're super, super rich. and then they die at the end.
I know what one you're talking about. I can't think of the name of it, though.
Or their girlfriend dies or something.
We are going on so many fucking tangents. But that is
This
what
is what
this
they're here
episode
for.
is.
That's this episode. But I think that they should do, like, supernatural stories.
Oh, that would be so much fun.
Where you could play as, like... Because I feel like they still try to have that, like, story aspect to it. And they have, like, kind of backstories of all their characters. But it's not enough.
They don't mean anything. Like they did
No.
in, like, The Sims 2 and The Sims 3. It's just, like...
Yeah, because... Like, the autonomy in the later games is not the same as, like, the originals.
No. They, like, took all the, like, love out of it.
Yeah, now it's just, like, buy this pack for $40.
Literally.
And get, like, 2 things.
But one of the original creators of The Sims 2 is coming out with a new life sim game. Basically to challenge The Sims.
What is it called?
Oh, I don't remember what it's called. It's not Paralives.
It's not Paralives.
No, it's another one.
Paralives looks really cool, though.
It does. I can't wait.
You know what? Did you ever play the game Supple?
No.
Hang on. I gotta show you this game. You can still play it for free.
For free?
iwin.com. This game. It's like Ciao Bella. Did you ever play Ciao Bella?
I think so. Briefly.
It's like that, except you're playing as Aaron, who works at, like, this magazine company. And you're trying to get with Hugh, who's this guy who's, like, dating the boss. The second one is, like, way better, though.
Interesting.
How is it $20? That's lame. In no way is this game worth $20.
Ooh. This incense stick I've lit is burning my eyes.
But yeah, I could
That's
never
not a
get
good
it
one.
to the, like, second level or whatever. But it's cool. It's like a time management game, and you can romance people and stuff like that, and it's good. Recommend it.
One that I really like that's kind of strange is The Sims Medieval.
Yeah.
That one was
good.
fun. I wish they expanded that a little more.
I don't think I ever played it. I think my friend had it, and she let me play it one time when I was at her house.
It's interesting. There's, like, quests, so it's fun.
That's what I liked about the story. They need to bring the stories back. Because that's what was really fun about it, is when they had the story that you follow, and they have, like, the captions of people, like, talking and stuff like that. Like, that's what they need to bring back. Because they've made it so much of an open world that it's like, okay, what do I do now?
True. But it's not the great open world from, like, The Sims 3.
Yeah. Sims 3, best open world. Sims 4, like, the same as Sims 2. Like, the worst open world. It's not even open world.
True. But, like, the aesthetic and actual energy put into The Sims 2 totally makes up for it.
Way better. The world's way better in Sims 2.
And the
Having that
story.
open world.
Chef's
Yeah.
kiss.
Sims 2 is definitely, like, the best out of all of them, besides character customization. Because you don't really get to choose your body type. You're either skinny or fat. Like, there's no...
And the fat's not even, like, that fat.
No, it's just,
You're like a little
round.
chunky.
Yeah.
But that's the
only
sign
thing-
of the times.
Sims 2 was really, really good, though. They had a lot.
I'm like, might have to go play it after this.
I know. I want to stream it now.
Okay. So, next spiritual encounter. Where do you want me to go? Do you want me to start at the beginning or...
Or what?
like, I don't know, more recent?
Do whichever one you feel like talking about.
I feel like we should start at the beginning to make more sense of the latter.
Okay.
So, my first paranormal experience that I can at least remember for, like, what it is, knowing for a fact that it was a spiritual encounter, was when I was scared by the spirit of my grandfather the night he had passed on. So now I'm pretty sure you've heard this story by now, probably like 1,000 fucking times, but I don't think the listeners have really heard it in depth. So when my grandfather passed on, I was 7, I was in 1st grade, and my aunt and uncle had taken me to, like, a reading competition at the school, because that's what you did in, like, 2005 or 2006, whatever it was. And I didn't know until after, but my grandfather was passing away that night, and that's why my parents hadn't taken me. So my aunt and uncle had driven me up to my grandparents' house right after, and I remember I had won an award at the reading competition, and I ran in all excited because I was gonna go show my grandfather. And I called him Poppy. Why? I don't know. He was not Hispanic. I am not Hispanic, but he was Poppy. And
That's what I called my pop.
so, you know, Poppy is chill, whatever. So I ran in literally to the room where he had been staying because he had several strokes. So for the most part, he was bedridden and in one of these, like, kind of like those hospital beds that are, like, remote operated, I guess. And I ran in with my award, and I was so freaking excited, and I ran in the room, and I was like, Poppy, look! It wasn't Poppy, look, it was Katie, look, because there was my grandfather, definitely, like, deceased, like, ghost white, just, like, so pale. And, like, this is the first time I had ever seen a dead body or anything, you know, too. So I was just, like, in shock. Because you went from, like, a high to just, like, a confused low. Because, like, I knew people died, but I didn't know, like, you know, how it worked. I was 7. Naive to the fact. And I just remember one of my aunts had grabbed me because I was confused, and they were explaining it to me, and I think they brought me over towards the bed, like, this part's a little fuzzy, and I just remember, like, the second I got closer, immediately, like, bawling my eyes out, screaming, and I remember, like, running from the room. And then there's, like, a chunk of time that I'm, like, missing from that point, but the next thing I know, they've sat me down on the couch, and they used to make me hot chocolate using milk and, like, Nesquik syrup, right? So, you know what happens when you mix chocolate syrup and milk, you know? You get that, like, really, really pale, like, beigey color. And I remember they brought it to me. I took, like, one sip of it, and it is, like, one of the most morbid things I can even think of to this day. And I refuse to make or drink hot chocolate unless it is, like, deep dark brown now because of this. I remember looking down, and I'm so sorry for anyone this might gross out, so I guess kind of trigger warning. But I just remember looking down and, like, gagging. Like, feeling, like, ready to vomit because it was, like, the same color as, like, his skin by the time I had saw him, because, like, all the blood had stopped flowing. And I just remember being absolutely, like, appalled. And I immediately started crying again. And then there was, like, another section, like, chunk of time just, like, missing. And I had obviously been starting to fall asleep. I think it was around, like, maybe 11:30 at this time. People were just starting to leave the house. The funeral people, I don't know what they're called, the people that come and collect the bodies afterwards, they had come, they had got his body, wheeled it out, put it in the hearse and everything. And my parents had brought me upstairs and tucked me in to the same bedroom that I always stayed in. And it wasn't a full skylight, but it was one of those kind of like hexagonal windows, like a bay window. But it had windows on the top roofing part of it as well. So, like, you could still see up into, like, the sky. And I remember I had fallen asleep, and I woke up a few hours later. I don't know what time it was, but I had been asleep for, like, a little while. So, my guess is it was probably around 2:30 or 3 in the morning. And I remember waking up because I was just frigid. Like, freezing cold. And I believe my grandfather passed away in either the fall or the spring. I know it wasn't summer and it wasn't winter. And I remember looking up, and there was a face just, like, staring back at me through the window. Like, they would have had to have been standing on the top of the roof. So, like, there's no fucking way. And I didn't recognize who this man was. He was, like, fairly thin in the face, but he had on these very thick, chunky, like, square glasses. Like, 70s, 80s style glasses. You know, like those thick lenses that make your eyes look bigger and the frames are just clunky. And I remember I was stared for like a couple seconds, maybe 30 seconds, just like directly at this face. And I watched it go from staring like curiously to smiling. And like, I know now that there was no malice in it. Like, it wasn't like an intent to harm or freak me out or anything. But I just immediately started screaming. And my parents came sprinting up the stairs, and I blinked, looked away when they came through the door, and then I looked back and the face was gone. And I started explaining to them what happened, and they asked me to tell them and then draw what I had seen. Like the face. And I've always been fairly artistic. I mean, I wasn't fucking Picasso at age 7, but I could make something that fairly resembled a person. So I explained to them and drew kind of the face I had saw, like the main part being those glasses and the eyes. And I just remember them all being shocked. Like, after I had explained it and kind of showed them what I was picturing, and then they had gone over and got a picture of my grandfather when he was significantly younger than when he passed away. Because I believe he passed away at, I want to say, like, 72. So, like, he wasn't, like, very old, but, like, he was older. And the strokes had definitely, like, played a part in his deterioration and everything like that. But they showed me this picture from when he was maybe 30, 35. And it was, without a doubt, the man I had seen looking back at me in the window. And from that moment on, until I was, like, a teenager, I was kind of scared to go upstairs in the house by myself. Like, for no reason other than the fact that, like, it just kind of scarred me as a child. Even knowing it was my grandfather and he meant no malintent. Like, he was definitely saying the goodbye he didn't get to say because I wasn't there. But I just remember being so terrified. And they always, like, my whole family treated it as a blessing. Like, oh, it was just your grandfather coming to visit. And I think to this day, not only did he spook me, but I think I spooked him. Because out of all the spirits that I have kind of played a part in, like, them crossing over, I would say, he is the only one who has not come back to visit. And I think to this day, he's worried about scaring me again. So, like, it's just very interesting. Like, that's kind of where I got my start in, like, the whole realizing that everything I was seeing wasn't actually quote-unquote real, you know, not in the physical pain that we live on. And it makes you wonder from then on, like, what are the other things that I had seen that weren't real? You know, like, who was alive, who was dead? Because when I was younger, there was no way to tell. Like, the spirit of my grandfather that I saw, it wasn't just, like, a fairly reflective face in a mirror. Like, it was a full-body apparition staring back at me from the ceiling. And, like, it was a lot. And I don't know, it just left such a lasting mark on me, and I think it was me being so scared that made me tramp my ability down for such a long time and just bury it and not want to experience it anymore. But I definitely started to open it back up a little bit more when my grandmother had passed away. And I'll share that part and then the rest of mine after you share yours. 'Cause this is where it kind of tailspins, and then I think after that we can kind of wrap the episode up a little bit, because it gets wild. But that's my kind of, like, introduction to the spirit world, I guess. When I was a wee child. That was hard. I don't think I've ever talked about that in that much detail to anyone in a very long time.
It actually reminds me a little bit. I'm gonna talk about this, but I don't really want to go into too much depth about it, because it's still fairly recent to me. But my grandfather passed away in 2016. And it kind of felt like we all knew it was coming, but nobody knew when it was going to happen. And it kind of happened, like, way out of the blue. And none of us were really expecting it to happen when it did. And I remember the night before very, very vividly. And this is, like, the only time where I have genuinely felt like I had a really strong connection to spirit in some way. And that's because I had this really, really sad dream about my grandmother. And it was just, like, this heart-wrenching emotion of she's gonna be alone. She's alone. Like, almost like a vision of seeing people holding hands and them, like, slipping apart. And just being like, this person is now alone. And just feeling incredibly, incredibly sad. And kind of like I want to make sure that this person is going to be okay. Like, please ensure that this person is going to be okay. And I remember waking up, hearing my dad sprinting up the stairs, yelling and crying, like, my dad just died. And, like, me just instantly getting up without any thought, not even being confused or anything. Like, when you first wake up, sometimes you're like, oh, what's going on? No, I immediately got up, opened my door, and my dad was right there, and I just started hugging him. And I knew what had happened before I even heard him say anything. As soon as I heard him, like, stomping up the stairs, I knew what happened. And I knew that my pop had passed away. And it was really hard, even kind of knowing what happened. 'Cause then after, it was, like, so early in the morning that we went over to their house, and they just had him there. He died at home. And that was the first dead person I had ever seen. And I wasn't able to go into the room to say goodbye to him or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do it. But I remember, like you said, their skin just being really pale,
Mm-hmm.
and like you can tell that they're dead. Like there's nothing there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And like his mouth was like gaping open.
Yep.
It was freaky.
And not to bring it back to me, but that's, I think, the image that sticks in my head as well.
Yeah.
That's the part that terrified me as much that I ran from the room screaming was the gaping mouth, honestly. So
it's just disturbing. Seeing people who are so lively be suddenly completely lifeless.
Yep.
I don't think it's anything that anyone ever wants to see.
No.
But I remember having that dream, and then a couple weeks later, I had another dream that I was at my grandparents' house, which was like a setting for a lot of my dreams when I was younger, because I was always there. So I thought this was just kind of like another dream.
Yep.
Just another normal dream. But I remember walking into my grandparents' living room, and my pop was in his leather chair, which was like his favorite chair. He always sat in it, and nobody else sat in it. And I remember sitting down on their leather couch and just having a full-on conversation with him. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't really remember what we talked about. I just remember basically, like, he told me he loved me and was proud of me and stuff like that. And I don't know if it was like a subconscious thing. Like, this is my brain trying to help me get through this trauma, or if it was like a legitimate, like, my grandfather is reaching out to me from the afterlife to tell me that everything's okay. But those were the two dreams that I had in relation to this person who passed away, and it just seems like it was him reaching out to me. And I think those are the only times where I legitimately felt a very strong connection to some kind of spirit or some kind of afterlife. But yeah.
Just us casually both getting shaky voiced on the pod.
It's hard to talk about the death of loved ones, but I think it's really interesting, both of us going through similar kind of things of somehow connecting with our family member after they've passed away. And it's just nice. It's just nice reassurance, getting that confirmation that they're okay and they're happy. So yeah, I wasn't going to talk about that. I was going to tell a scary story, but you kind of spurred me on with your story, so I thought it was good to talk about.
And it's about to get even weirder.
All right.
The similarities a little bit. So, the next thing I'm going to talk about is kind of like my reawakening into the world of spirit, I would say. And that happened when my grandmother passed away. And this is my mother's mother. So my grandfather, my poppy, was my mother's father. So this is on the same side of the family here. And my grandmother passed away my freshman year of college. And I had really tamped down my connection to spirit, mediumship, if that's what you want to call it. I would say I'm definitely dabbling in trying to, fully understand that gift. But, so it had been buried from first grade to my freshman year of college. And I remember I was supposed to be going to a spring training game for softball that I could not attend because my mother had called me saying my grandmother was not doing well. and said I should probably come visit her.
Mm-hmm.
So I had gone up. She had been on morphine for several days at this point. She hadn't really been coherent. She hadn't been moving on her own. I believe she had a catheter, so she had not really moved much in bed at all. She was pretty weak at that point. Mm-hmm. And for my grandmother, that was the complete opposite of who she was. She was a spitfire, to say the least. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She was a lot like me in the sense that if she felt something, she's going to tell you how it is.
Yeah.
And she's not going to hold back. She's going to tell you. And just seeing her in that state was insane. And I remember I had gotten there later in the day. I want to say on a Saturday or a Friday night. I don't remember. But I know it was approaching the weekend. And I had gone into the room. And they told me, I sat down on the bed she was on. And they were like, just be careful. If you hold her hands or anything, make sure you go wash your hands after. Because she had the morphine pumping in through like an IV. And we really wanted to make sure it was sterile. And if there was any kind of drug that had somehow gotten onto her hand. Mm-hmm. Because we were self-administering the medication at that point. So I had sat there. I had talked to her for, I want to say, an hour and a half, 2 hours. Just kind of sat there talking at her pretty much at that point. And like I said, she'd been pretty much out of it for a couple of days. Had not spoken. The most she was doing was kind of moaning and grunting at that point. She couldn't really muster up the energy to speak. And I remember I had gotten up to go wash my hands in the attached bathroom onto that bedroom. And I go in, I'm in the middle of washing my hands, and I just feel a dead look, like right into my back. And I look up in the mirror. My grandmother had sat up in bed on her own volition, no assistance, and goes, Katie Lynn, get back in here. It is the only thing she had said, the only movement she had made more than twitching her couple of fingers in the last couple of days. And everyone was kind of like, holy shit. Like, my mother was sitting next to her bedside. One of my other aunts was in the room as well. And they were like, she has not moved in days, let alone said anything. So I went back in, I went and kept holding her hand, and after that point, she just laid there. She didn't speak, she barely moved. It was like her last little bit of energy, like she had used to sit up and say that. And the night had kind of gone on. I'd hung around for a while longer, and then I had gone upstairs because I believe it was around... I had a test coming up. So I was going up to study for that and do some homework. And I was up in the same bedroom that I had been in when I had the experience with my grandfather. Because at that point, I had kind of gotten over it a little bit. And I was up there, I think for maybe an hour or two. It was pretty late in the night. I want to say 8:30. And I just felt this wave of cold wash over me, like whenever I do when I'm in contact with spirit. And I look, and there's this shadowy figure who's fairly small. My grandmother was not a big woman, standing in the center of the room over my left shoulder. And I just turned and I asked, is it time? And I physically watched the spirit move out of the door into the hallway and go down the stairs. So I marked my page in my book, set it down, went downstairs into the room where my grandmother was, and as soon as I entered the room, they told me she was taking her last breath. And I no sooner than went and sat next to the bedside than she passed away. And just the irony of that, like, helping her essentially pass on. Like, she would not move on without me there. And having the last words she had ever said be my name was just so chilling. And from there on out, she has been the one that has visited me the most. And with her, it has mostly been via dream communication. So how I can tell the difference between a dream and what I like to say is similar to an out-of-body experience, but I know I'm not out of body. I want to call it more like spirit walking. Like, that's the best way for me to describe it, is how I experienced this one I'm going to talk about in particular. I was back at my college dorm room. I was asleep. I had sat up and woken up in my bed. And I had stood up, went to my dorm room door, opened it, and stepped out of the shower in my grandmother's house. So I start in one location, and I have to go physically through a doorway to enter somewhere else. And I came out of the shower, and from there it was that same shower that was in the attached bathroom to the bedroom where she had passed away. And I walked out into the living room from there, and I was looking around, and I could tell it was the house. But the house my grandmother and grandfather had built from scratch themselves. Well before I was born, when my mother was younger, I believe. And I'm looking around, and it's pristine. It's brand new. And for me, typically, when I experience spirit after they passed away, they don't necessarily come to me in the form when they had passed away. It's significantly younger. So, like, in their prime, if you will. And I remember looking around, and there was the dining room table that had always been in the house since I can remember. But it was clean of any of the scratches, any of the marks that it had had from the time that I had seen it. And I look around because I hear, "What, you're not going to come sit down?" And I look, and my grandmother is sitting over on, like, the couch in the living room. And I go and sit down, and we're chatting for a while, pretty much just catching up. She's asking me about how school's going and everything like that. And then I look over because I feel a presence shift. And there is a woman who I had never met before. I knew who she was just from seeing her in pictures. And she extends her hand to me, and she goes, "Hi, Kate, it's nice to meet you. I'm your Aunt Teresa." This is my mother's sister who had passed away a couple of years before I was born from cancer. And I met her. We were having a conversation, basically just getting to know one another. And from this point in the story is where things get crazy for me. Just because this dream happened several years ago at this point, like 5 years ago or so. And I remember I look over, and coming through the doorway that I had come out of before is a man. And I didn't get to see who the man was because he was holding a baby. A very small baby. And I stood up, and I went to go, like, coo at the baby, like, everyone does when you see a baby. You, like, want to grab their little hands and, play with it. And that's what I did. I had gone over, and I had touched the baby's hand, and it gripped onto my finger. And the moment the baby gripped onto my finger, I was thrown into, like, this swirling vortex is the best way I can describe it. And I just remember seeing these images of, like, a fetus, like, not developed, and then feeling, like, not pain, but just, like, kind of confusion. And then it was more of that spiraling, and it was making me so dizzy that I had snapped awake. And I woke up and I was just in shock. So I had sat up and I was like, holy shit. And I just started crying.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately I knew that not only had I just met my Aunt Teresa and spoken to my grandmother, who had passed at this point 3 years ago, I want to say, 3 or 4 years ago, and I had met a baby who I knew had been a miscarriage.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that vortex I was feeling, essentially. Mm-hmm. And this is the part where it gets crazy, because it had just been cleared up for me this year.
Oh.
So, and this is the part where I'm not going to name names. I'm going to keep it as anonymous as I can. One of my friends recently, I had been chatting with her, and I had found out that around Thanksgiving, which is when I had this dream this many years ago, she had miscarried. And I just remember when I had found this out that I was like, holy shit. Because sometimes with spirit, you don't get that instant clarification.
Mm-hmm.
But the second she said it, it clicked into place, and I hadn't gotten the timeline yet. And I asked them, I was like, if you do not mind me asking, when was this? She told me, and the timeline was identical. And I was like, oh. So that makes sense now. And I remember looking to the other person in the room with me, and I was like, I do have that timeline correct, right? And they were just like, yes. So it's just like, wow. You know, some of the things that you can put together after getting multiple different stories. And just, I'm still awed by the fact that that's what that was to this day. That I was correct, but you're just missing that one little puzzle piece to put it all in place.
Yeah.
And I think that was the driving force, honestly, behind me being like, okay, I'm not crazy. I actually do have this ability. Maybe I should stop trying to push it down and actually kind of investigate it a little bit, try and build upon it. And I have been. And so far it's been quite interesting. I've been getting scents, which I have never got before. Like earlier, I was trying to tap into it, and as of now, it's more I see pictures and have like an internal running dialogue. And I remember I was just overwhelmed with the color blue. And I was like, why the color blue? And then the two different blues kind of split a little bit. And I was like, is it the beach? And then I started smelling, which is odd because you were just talking about it earlier, salt water. And this was right before we started recording this episode. And until about 30 minutes before we recorded, all I could smell still in my nose was salt water. And I'm just like, whew, okay. So it's kind of trying to figure out where that line is and like how to open things and close things off. And I guess that's kind of where I am right now. But that's all the major stories I have to share now. I have some other like fleeting ones here and there, but those are the main stories, I would say, from along like my journey so far. But no, they're not Nat's House of Horrors and like creepy, strange stories, but they're very personal to me, and I typically don't tell them to many people. And I don't know if I've ever gone into as much detail with anyone as I have today about any of it. So I hope that the listeners at least kind of appreciate what I was willing to share. Because it's not something I've been super comfortable opening up with to a lot of people. I kind of give the shortened rundown of the story if I ever talk about it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of feels like a little bit of a weight off my shoulders, if I'm being honest, but that's what I've got.
Yeah, and I guess I won't tell my last story because my dad would be mad if I told it, so I'm not gonna. Sorry.
I still want to hear it after.
Yeah, I'll tell you after.
But look at that. That's kind of a little bit of a longer episode. We're at about an hour and 10 minutes or so, and hopefully you didn't mind both of our strange rambling ons as we went about today, and hopefully you enjoyed something a little bit more wholesome and emotional, something I would say that we don't necessarily do as often on this podcast.
No,
so.
I think we opened up a lot about personal things, and I hope that those listening and those listening in the future can be respective of those stories and not judge them or use them in any negative way against us or anything like that. Just take it as it is and respect our emotions with our loved ones that we've lost.
Like, you can come up to me and tell me you think I'm insane based on anything that I've told you, and I'll just nod and say, okay, but you're wrong. Like, I know what I experienced, whether you think it's the truth or not. It doesn't really matter. It's my truth. So, that's the way I look at it. As long as you don't try and use it against me to blackmail me for anything, then...
Yeah, exactly.
I'm good. I'm not sure what you would blackmail me on with any of that, but people are strange, so.
People are strange and malicious.
And speaking of strange, we've been getting very strange comments on our things, like, come to Texas and grab my mirror.
Actually, we've gotten 3 messages that are, or 3 comments that are somewhat similar that say very strange things.
And I understand with our genre, we're gonna get some strange things, but...
One person said, should you be afraid of the dark? Absolutely.
Which, like, yes, sir, you don't need to tell me.
I wish it would show me the other one that we got. Hang on. Wait. Did you see this one comment that said, don't worry, it's just Belial cooking me some ribs?
Yes!
The demon? Oh, and then somebody else said, that's when you call us to summon what's waiting in the dark. We only want to help. We are many.
I'm like, I don't know what that means, but I'm not gonna call you.
I'm not calling you. Their name is Lucifer. But they're a candle company.
Yeah, I assume you use their candles in rituals of some sort, but I am
they got
not
penis
trying
candles.
to... I know, I saw that, but I'm not trying to summon the devil or light a dick candle, so... But that's all we have for you today, guys. Something a little bit more lighthearted, a little more touching, a little more personal for us. And I hope you appreciate our vulnerability that we showed this episode. Showing you that we're not always happy-go-lucky jokester Nat and Kate like you might believe every time we come on this podcast. So... If you want more Wading into the Void, a little bit more lighthearted content, some fun little reels, things like that, you can follow us on social media. We are on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Wading into the Void. And we also have some fun little merch on our website, www.wadingintothevoid.com. And Nat's gonna give you a little rundown on how you can support us if you are so interested.
So, we have a Patreon. Don't really use it that much, but it's an option. All you have to do is go on Patreon and search us up in the address bar, the search bar. Wading into the void, we should be the only people that come up because of our awesome, unique name.
Yes.
And then we also have another option of donation through Spotify or Spotify for podcasters. They're essentially one and the same now. But there is a link on Spotify, on our main Spotify page, directly to the donation page. And you can donate as little as 99 cents, less than $1. And honestly, $1 goes a long way for us because it shows us that you support and care for us and want to see us continue to do more. Yeah.
And as the legend goes, $1 makes me holla, honey boo boo chow. So, until next time, Phantom Fam, don't get sappy on the pod, or maybe do if you feel like it. Definitely crack some jokes, and whatever you do not visit the site that Nat shared with me earlier. You might get scarred for life, internally and mentally. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.